Welcome to the Musgrave Family Collection. Still a work in progress. I'll tell you what I've told all the other guards. Mind your boots. Our floors are not made for armor. If you're here for the annual Canid review, I'm afraid it's already over. Only thing going on behind those doors is good, old-fashioned lawful behavior. This greeting constitutes your confidentiality agreement. You hereby agree not to disclose the location or existence of these events. Thank you for cooperating. Oh, that's just so encouraging to hear. I'll just go ahead and add your comment to my permanent record. Now then, how can I help you? Mr. Mostly is indeed attending our event, although I am disappointed to discover he did not officially enter his Canid La Place into our competition. You should find Mr. Mostly just inside the prep room. Head inside and take the door to your left. We find that our clients enjoy the appearance of participating in illegal activities. Secrecy contributes to a feeling of indecency. The Musgrave Family Collection was intended to be a gallery of fine art. And here we are, using this place to practice semi-legal Canid shows. Scandalous, isn't it? That's privileged information. I really shouldn't tell you. That's a fair point. All right, I'll tell you. But just keep this between us. The Musgraves own one of Earth's largest private collections of art and literature. They were going to have the entire collection shipped all the way to Halcyon. Unfortunately, that collection never arrived. We haven't heard anything from the delivery convoy, and there's some purely hypothetical concern that the collection might be, well... I was going to say indefinitely delayed by unforeseen and unknowable circumstances, but yes. Let's go with that. Anyway, that's as much as I can tell you. Will there be anything else?
Just between the two of us, I hope this doesn't become a tradition.
Not looking forward to the next annual Canid review?
Not looking forward to the Canids. Odious things. I don't know why we let them prance around the city.
Welcome. This unit has been programmed to provide a selection of marginally subversive repartee. Now loading banter protocol. Indecency ratio set to 15%. Did you know that Orville Schuyler feeds his Canids discount salt tuna? Scandalous. Indecency ratio set to maximum. Now loading banter protocol. Byzantium's glory days are over. Bits cannot purchase happiness. All pleasure is fleeting. No amount of inebriation will dull the pain of ennui. Warning. This unit's banter protocol has exceeded its maximum allowance of subversive language. Memory wipe initiated. This unit's banter protocol has been erased. Would you like to purchase a drink?
Are you one of the guards on patrol? I don't suppose you've any formal training in Canid husbandry. I really am at my wit's end. It's my little Anubis, you see. He's listless and miserable. I simply don't know what to do about his condition. You must understand. Anubis is a very picky eater. He dines exclusively on Terra 2 salt tuna, none of that rubbish from Monarch. Unfortunately, we've had a bit of a shortage lately. He's so miserable without his salt tuna. Yes, perhaps you're right. I suppose I have been pushing Anubis a little too hard. I have an automechanical servant to praise me when I feel out of sorts. My canid deserves the same treatment. I'll be sure to raise a glass of Rizzo's Spectrum Violet to your timely assistance.
Neutralized.
That's the last of...
That trophy's real cool.
I've heard stories of wild kings like that.
What do you think you're doing? Have it your way, I suppose.
Welcome. This unit has been programmed to provide a selection of marginally subversive repartee.
Hey, Maverick Johnston's newest star. I've got a question for you. Do you know the interesting thing about canid shows? Mathematically speaking, the interesting thing about canid shows is this. They're an exercise in futility. Winning is predetermined. Over time, the inevitable trend is that the race goes to the swift. Time and chance are just statistical outliers. In other words, if you put enough canids through enough trials, the one with the most optimal attributes generally wins. Exercise in futility. What gave me away? Wait, don't tell me. You've read my monograph, Putting the Us in Calculus, or How to Use Mathematics to Find Your Statistically Significant Other. I'm afraid I don't really do autographs, but yes, I am Clarence Mostly. Oh, then you're not here about my monograph. It's true, I was involved with Project Gorgon, but that chapter of my life is long since closed. Listen, I don't know what you want with Gorgon or with me, but let me give you some free advice, Let the past go. Live in the moment. Enjoy the party. I was wondering if you were the sort of person to accept sensible advice or respond with threats of violence. Thank you for resolving that ambiguity for me. Lifting the lockdown won't be easy. You'll need to send overrides from the chem lab and human inquiry. I don't have that level of clearance, but I know 2 people who do. The trouble is, I don't know you. I don't trust you. I washed my hands of Gorgon, and you're asking me to dirty them all over again. I'm going to need a good reason. Right, of course. Thank you for reminding me. Point well taken. I want a favor from you. Do something for me, and I'll do something for you. That way we don't have to rely on mutual trust. A grand prize trophy to the Canid Review. I want it in my hands. Get me that trophy, and I'll give you the remaining researchers. Names, locations, as much information as I have. My trophy! Look at this thing! Have you ever seen a more garish monument to the boredom of the elite? If only Grandfather Mostly were alive today, I would have loved to wave this trophy right in front of his cataracts. I hope you won't take it personally when I say I had my doubts about you. Nothing ever gets done in Byzantium, you see. Competent work is, well, a statistical anomaly. Lifting the emergency lockdown requires overrides from the chem lab and human inquiry. Access to those facilities requires authorizations from 2 senior-level researchers, Marion Blakesley, Jasper Lowe. They went into hiding after the project collapsed, but I've managed to calculate their last known whereabouts within a reasonable margin of error. I see you're familiar with my technique. I'd love to show you my numbers, but there aren't nearly enough napkins in this room. After the project shut down, I had to keep my mind occupied. I worked on my actuarial tables, calculated the average lifespan of a Spacer's Choice worker, that sort of thing. I realized some of the researchers had to be alive. I ran some numbers, did a little research, and concluded that the 2 most likely survivors are Marion Blakesley and Jasper Lowe. Nonsense. I just needed a good old-fashioned statistical problem to busy my mind. Keeps the faculties lubricated. As far as I know, Jasper Lowe and Marion Blakesley are the only 2 surviving researchers with high-level clearance. If you want to lift the lockdown on the manufactory, you'll need to send an override from the chem lab and human inquiry. I'm afraid it's the only way. I'll tell you what I can. Dr. Marion Blakesley supervised the human inquiry and auditing facility. Live subjects, measuring tape and syringes, that sort of thing. Someone sabotaged the facility. Blakesley tendered her resignation and vanished. I'm reasonably certain she's hiding in a maintenance bay on Groundbreaker. Well, with Spacer's Choice equipment, who even knows? Dr. Blakesley tendered her resignation lawfully, but under suspicious circumstances. If you want to know more, you'd best ask her yourself. I'm asking you to trust in the predictive power of data. Dr. Blakesley may have disappeared after that sabotage incident, but the trajectory of her life was implied in her permanent record. Dr. Lowe described himself as a dazzling genius in his review. I disagreed. Of the 19 criteria that constitute the rubric of genius, Dr. Lowe only met 15. After the project shut down, corporate traded him off to Auntie Cleo in exchange for 5 lab coats. He's been transferred to an orbital lab around Olympus. Oh dear. How do I explain this without using too many syllables? Lab coats means scientists. It's a colloquial... It's slang. Let's get back on topic. You'll find Dr. Lowe in an orbital lab around Olympus. Certainly. What's on your mind? Let's try to keep it down, shall we? At least pretend we're being discreet? There's not a lot about Project Gorgon I can tell you. I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but I closed that chapter in my life. I've moved on. Look, don't tell anyone I said this. But if there's anything I've learned by living in Byzantium, it's this. If you go looking for the truth, you are looking for trouble. All right. Ask your questions. And then if you don't mind, don't mention Project Gorgon anywhere near me again. Minnie Ambrose. Oh, Olivia's brat. Ambitious, but like the rest of her family, irrelevant. She tried following her mother's example, failed, and if she ever tried again, I couldn't tell you. The name Ambrose doesn't mean anything to me anymore, or to anyone halfway respectable. The Ambroses are, how do I put this politely, obsolete? A family's name is only as strong as its enterprise. The Musgraves have Rizzos, and the Schuyler's have Auntie Cleo, and so we show those names the respect they deserve. The Ambrose name was associated with Project Gorgon. The project died, and so the Ambrose name died with it. That's just the way the game is played. Project Gorgon was designed to change the life of every worker on Halcyon. We weren't just building a product, we were trying to build a society. How many workers call Halcyon their home? What do they eat and when? How long do they sleep? How hard do they work? What are their most productive years? When do their organs begin to fail? That's the nature of my work. I study human life in order to determine its value. Jewelers appraise diamonds, and I appraise people. Of course you can. You can break the entire universe down into numbers and statistics. Human beings are as much a part of the universe as weather patterns and orbital mechanics. It's complicated. I'll be honest, I didn't join Project Gorgon because I wanted to satisfy my intellectual curiosity. I was courting the daughter of a Spacer's Choice family. We were a mathematically congruent match, you see. I had the proofs all written out and everything. I see you've been in the same situation. Yes, she wasn't impressed by my absolute value. After she made her feelings clear, I left the project. Everything. Every project has a margin of failure. We expect setbacks, complications, delays. Project Gorgon experienced a cascade failure. One mistake precipitated another, and another, and another. The labs failed to develop a safe drug. Human Inquiry failed to perform their tests responsibly. An unsafe drug tested on unhealthy subjects by irresponsible supervisors. That's Project Gorgon. I know. Project Gorgon was a failure of leadership. Leadership to which I belonged. I should have pushed for stricter supervision. We gave the other departments too much freedom and not enough oversight. Spare the rod, spoil the servant. Anarchy is not a crime. It is a symptom. The undisciplined workplace secretes anarchy the way our glands secrete enzymes. It's a principle of science. Sabotage came first. The chem lab, Human Inquiry, even my own office. Sabotage broke the discipline of our workplace, leading to confusion, leading to escaped subjects, leading to anarchy. No one appreciates the value of good data. The holistic surveillance device I wear is an invaluable tool, gathering data on all my day-to-day activities. My former colleagues can go into hiding and live in ignorance for all I care. I prefer the self-examined life. You know, the careers of 9 out of 13 actors end after their debut serial. Enjoy the fame while it lasts. My eye! I was wondering where I'd misplaced that old thing. It's perfectly preserved, you know. Every eye possesses unique dimensions, not unlike a fingerprint. The circumference, the shape, the color of the iris. An eye makes excellent proof of identification, assuming you don't mind removing one. I'd rather not get into the details. If Spacer's Choice ever asks you to test out their new model of monocle, just say no. Well, that's rather responsible of you. I'll put a good word in your permanent record. Yes? Project Gorgon had incredible potential. To say that the project was doomed to failure is to absolve guilty parties of responsibility. It's fatalism, pure and simple. Imagine what we could have done for the colony if we'd succeeded. If Project Gorgon lived up to its full potential, the benefits to society would be historic. Quality of life would improve by an order of magnitude. 30% longer life expectancy, 60% higher productivity. A full day's energy with just 4 hours of sleep. Melancholia and lethargy would have been problems of the past. Think what you will about me, but my numbers don't lie. The failure of Gorgon's leadership robbed this colony of a bright and productive future. Yes? I'll tell you what I can. Dr. Lowe described himself as a after the project shut. Our office gave Dr. Lowe and his team every opportunity to develop a drug under perfectly reasonable guidelines and generous deadlines. Dr. Lowe failed to meet our requests and largely succeeded in using our supply of drugs to get himself higher than the mortality rate of a line worker at a Saltuna cannery. Try to exercise caution. It's good for your lifespan. You did fetch a trophy for my little applause. Technically, that makes you my canid servant. And by the transitive property of employment, my responsibility. No need to sound so astonished. Now, was there anything else? Do excuse me. All my thoughts are currently occupied by that trophy.